guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be going over the 12 books I read in the month of May. I cannot believe we are already in June, but I'm so excited for summer. The past 2 weeks in Southern California, it has been so gray and gloomy. I just need some sunshine and a tan, so I'm very excited for summer to be coming. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the 12 books I read. I actually feel like I had a very good reading month. I'm pretty sure all the books I read were 4 or 5 star. A couple of them were probably 3.5 stars, but honestly, I need to perfect my rating system a little bit. I feel like I tend to rate books a little higher, but I enjoy 95% of the books I read, so I don't know. I don't think about it too much, I just vibe with the books. Let's get right into it. To start off the month, I read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is the sequel to When in Rome, which is about Noah and Amelia. It's a small town baker and a pop star. And then Practice Makes Perfect is about Will, who is Amelia's bodyguard, and Annie, who is Noah's littlest sister. This book was so good. It's bad boy, good girl trope. She owns a flower shop. He has tattoos. He is teaching her how to date. He doesn't do long-term relationships, and her dream is to have marriage and kids. I loved this book so much. I really enjoyed the first book. I think I liked this one more. They're both so good. I love Sarah Adams' writing so much. They are closed-door romances. This one did have a little bit more there's just a little he's teaching her how to date. There's a little more physical touch, I guess, in this one. This was 5 stars, and we are getting 2 more books in this world of Annie's 2 other sisters. Sarah Adams, I need the next 2 books immediately. After I read that one, I read My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I love Christina Lauren's books. Twice in a Blue Moon and Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren are 2 of my all-time favorite books, so I love anything they write. I believe I gave this a 4 star. It's about 2 professors at UC Santa Barbara, and they are trying to find a date for a gala. They end up sleeping together one night, and then they're like, oh no, we can't ruin our friendship, this can't happen. And then they are trying to find other dates online and a little bit of anonymous chatting in there, and they have a super fun friend group. Quick read. I recommend anything Christina Lauren writes. Okay, so next on my Kindle, I read So That Happened, and I think I saw someone post about it on Bookstagram, and I was like, I need to read that immediately. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It's the first book of a duology, but the second book hasn't come out yet. So it's about Annie and Liam. They meet at the airport. They meet on an airplane, and their airplane gets delayed, so then they have to stay in a hotel. The hotel ran out of rooms, so they end up having to share a room, and there's one bed. They're like, okay, this is uncomfortable and we don't like each other. They got off on the wrong foot, but we're exhausted. This just has to work. And then the next morning, okay, bye, never have to see this person again. Annie shows up for her new job on Monday. Who's her new boss? Liam. It's a workplace romance, boss employee, grumpy sunshine. This is also a no spice book. It's slow burn, rom-com. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so cute. There is a second one coming. Super quick read too. I think I read it in one sitting. So I would recommend if you want something light and fun. After that, also on my Kindle, I read How to Kiss Your Enemy by Jenny Proctor. This is the 3rd book in the How to Kiss a Hawthorne Brothers series by her. The first book is How to Kiss Your Best Friend. The second book is How to Kiss Your Grumpy Boss. I absolutely loved the first 2. All the boys in these books are brothers, and then we're getting the One More Brothers book, I think at the end of the year, which I'm so excited about. He's a movie star. Anyway, back to How to Kiss Your Enemy. It's about Lennox, who is the second eldest brother. brother. He is a chef on the family's farm. He opened up his own restaurant, and then there's also a catering kitchen. So it's his restaurant and then the catering kitchen, and he is just the restaurant chef. So they hired a catering chef, and at the end of How to Kiss Your Grumpy Boss, we find out that the catering chef is Lennox's culinary school rival, Tatum. And then in this book, rivals to lovers. Also, it's close proximity because their kitchens are right next to each other and they're in the same like building basically, but love the Hawthorne brothers and like seeing their characters. And this I think was my least favorite out of the 3 I've read so far, and I'm so excited for the last one. Super fun, quick read on Kindle Unlimited. Next, I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. Friend Zone is the first book of a trilogy, and I have the other 2 books, I just haven't gotten to them yet. This book is about Kristen and Josh. Kristen's best friend Sloane is marrying Josh's best friend Brandon. Josh recently moved to California and he is now working for the same fire station that Brandon's working at. Kristen has a dog accessory business and she needs a carpenter to make dog stairs. And then so Josh is like, oh, I could do that for some extra money because moving across the country was expensive. And they have this attraction to each other, but they could only be friends because Kristen is currently in a relationship, but her boyfriend is in the military. Josh just got out of a pretty serious relationship and he broke up with his girlfriend because he wants kids and wants a family so bad, and she didn't want kids. And so they can't be together because she's in a relationship, but also Kristen has a secret that she has to get this medical procedure done because she has medical problems and would be unable to have children. It's like a friends to lovers because they develop this friendship. Also, the last 100 pages, that plot line that got introduced in the last 100 pages made me sob the entire time. And so I think that is very rude of Abby Jimenez. It was so good. I gave this book a 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Cannot wait for the next book in the series. After that, I read Charlie Love and Clichés by Ella Mays, and this is her new release that just came out this month. Obviously, it's in the title. There's a lot of cliches in it, but I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This book is about Charlie, who's our female main character, and William, who's our male main character. Charlie was kind of a hot mess, but same. It's a workplace romance, but they have, it's also a second chance romance. I forgot that. They met 6 years ago at a diner and showed up at the same time as each other every single day for a week straight. And then they just didn't see each other for 6 years. And now William is working at Charlie's place of employment, which is also Charlie's dad's company. William is kind of Charlie's boss now. Charlie's like, why didn't you show up to the diner again 6 years ago? And William's like, oh, I'll tell you. And then Charlie's like, no, I'm not ready to hear it yet. I thought there were some really great quotes in here. I thought it was so cute. I enjoyed it. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. It is a slow burn workplace romance. They also live across the street from each other, so they bump into each other like everywhere. So I thought that part was fun. I believe Ella Mays' books are also on Kindle Unlimited, so I made good use of my Kindle Unlimited subscription this month. I also listened to Twisted Love by Anna Huang this month. I read this book over the course of 2 weeks. I listened to it while I was going on walks. I really liked this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't remember why I didn't give it 5 stars. I think probably just because I read it over or listened to it over a long period of time. So like I kind of got taken out of the story pretty often. Love the twists and turns of this book. Love how dark and broody Alex is. He's the guy who's like, I will burn the world for you. Definitely Grumpy Sunshine. It's also his brother's best friend. It's Ava and Alex, and Ava's older brother Josh is Alex's best friend. Josh goes away for this doctor program in South America, and then so Alex moves into Josh's home, which is right next door to Ava's. They're neighbors now. Alex is supposed to be watching out for Ava and making sure she's okay. Ava has this childhood trauma, and she kind of works through that with Alex a little bit, and he's like being so sweet to her, but then there's a few twists and turns, and you're like, I loved it. And I loved the groveling at the end, like so he can like, you know, third act breakup.
And he's like, I'm gonna win you back. And she's like, no. And then he's like, just wait.
I loved it. I need to do the next ones, and I was going to also listen to those, but it's the same female voice actor, and I'm very bothered by that because the second book, Twisted Games, she's the princess of a European country. She's supposed to have an accent, but they used the same female narrator from Twisted Love, and she does not have an accent. So I think I'm just gonna actually read that one instead of listening to it because I am very bothered by that. Next one. Then I read Never Vacation with Your Ex, which is a new young adult book by Austin Sigma Broca and Emily Wibberley. They are the authors of The Roughest Draft, and I really liked that book. I need to read their other adult book by them, the one with the sunglasses on the cover, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so this book is a young adult book. It's about Kaylee, who is 17 in high school, and Dean. Their parents are best friends and they go on vacation every single year together. Kaylee is a serial dater. She'll date a guy for about 2 months and then break up with him. Her and Dean end up dating. Hits the 2-month mark. She breaks up with him, kind of for no reason. He's a little heartbroken over it because he's always had a crush on her. And she's like, sorry, like we just weren't meant to be. And then it's their summer vacation with both their families that they both have to go on. Kaylee basically takes it upon herself.
Hey Dean, I'm gonna help you get over me with how I get over guys. I'm gonna teach you my how to get over your ex survival guide.
And he's like, okay, so basically I'm gonna be spending a lot of time with you and these things kind of sound like dates. And she's like,
what?
And he's like, oh, you already agreed. So then they're spending all this time together. They're becoming friends again because it was super awkward before. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was very enjoyable, great beach read. It is set in Malibu, so like you can't beat that. I can't remember where I saw this book. I saw the cover though, and I was like, oh my gosh. I can't remember where I saw this book. It is The Summer of Christmas. I loved this book. This is what I was talking about earlier where like my ratings of books, it's like, I don't know, they're kind of crazy sometimes. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. Loved the feeling, loved the setting, loved the vibes, loved the story. This book, imagine a Hallmark Christmas movie behind the scenes in the middle of summer in a small town. It's about Ivy and Nick, who are childhood best friends to high school sweethearts to college dating, and then Nick breaks up with Ivy. It's years later. Ivy is a screenwriter and she wrote this movie based off of her and Nick's relationship from the time they were little to the time they broke up, and it's being made into a movie. The movie is being filmed back in her hometown, which she hasn't visited since her and Nick broke up. Nick still lives back at home, so of course they're going to run into each other. They have not spoken or seen each other since the breakup. I loved it. I loved it so much. Ivy's dating the producer of the movie. Nick starts dating the actress who's playing Ivy, and they like are seeing each other and having to communicate again for the first time in I think it's 6 years. I can't remember how much time has passed since they broke up, but it was so easy and entertaining and fun. I loved the characters. I loved the story. Loved. Then I read A Witch's Guide to Dating a Demon, which I feel like is a little bit out of my comfort zone because, as you can tell, I read a lot of rom-coms. This is also a rom-com, but there's a fantasy element because a witch and a demon. Duh. Mariel Spark is prophesized to be the most powerful witch. She just like isn't very good at magic. She has to practice a lot, but she's really good at plant magic. She is one with nature, but she's not so good at other magic. So she's baking and is trying to practice her magic, and she wants to conjure up more flour. But instead of flour, she gets the Latin word wrong and she ends up conjuring up Ozrith the Ruthless, a demon. He is there to collect her soul, but she's like,
dude, I'm not giving you my soul.
He's like, well, I can't leave until you give me your soul. And she's like,
not gonna happen.
So he cannot leave. And then her mom comes into her house and she's like, oh, who's this? And Mariel's like,
oh, this is my boyfriend.
So now they're fake dating. So a witch and a demon are fake dating. Obviously that can't be good. This was so entertaining. I absolutely loved this book. There was a little bit of spice in here, a few chapters I would say. There is gonna be a sequel with Mariel's cousin and another demon that you meet in this book. I read it on the train going to my parents' house, which was a 6-hour train ride, and I read all but maybe like 50 or 60 pages. This book kind of gave me similar vibes to the X-Hex, so if you liked these, thought they were entertaining reads, I would definitely check this out. After that, I went back on my Kindle and I read The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren, which is the sequel to The Soulmate Equation. In The Soulmate Equation, it is about Jess and River who meet because of this DNA testing that River made. Is his name River? I think his name was River. River and Jess do this DNA testing. They end up matching, saying that they're soulmates, and then they like fake date and blah, 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 blah. So this book is about Jess's best friend, Fizzy, or Felicity Chen. She is a romance writer, and she meets Connor, who is a TV producer, but he likes working on marine docuseries, like very like hard-hitting stuff. But his boss at the station he works at in San Diego has him producing a reality TV dating show. He sets up this dating show and he casts Fizzy as our lead. So it's Fizzy is going to date 8 guys. Fizzy and Connor get this great spark of attraction to each other. Like they get along and they're like, oh, we're just friends. Like we can only be friends. This can't work because I'm about to go and date 8 other guys for the show that you're producing. Connor has to make this show work because his job depends on it, and he is also a divorcee and a father. Him and his ex-wife get along great. She is like, Connor, dude, like you need to find love. I also love Felicity Chen's books, blah, 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 whatever. And Fizzy's like, kind of like not been feeling myself. I really like this Connor guy, but it just can't work between us. I'd say this book was 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought the whole reality TV dating show aspect of it was super fun. I also loved the main characters' chemistry with each other was super fun. And Connor, Connor. Moment of silence for Connor. Thank you. The acknowledgements at the end of the book, Christina and Lauren said that this book was basically thank you to romance readers and being a romance author, and I loved that aspect. They talked about like heroes and the heroines and the archetypes for the reality show, like that's what they were cast as. Like you had the bad boy, you had like the hot nerd, and then you had the one that got away. Each archetype was cast as a person on the show. Like you're reading a romance book and like there's so many different fun little tropes and things about the romance world. And then to finish off this month, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This book is a young adult fantasy. This is the first book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. The Ballad of Never After is what I just started reading on my Kindle right now. And then the third book, A Curse for True Love, I believe is what it's called, is coming out in a few months. So this trilogy is supposed to follow the Caraval trilogy. I didn't read it. I didn't think it was necessary. I think just in the Caraval trilogy, you meet Jax, the Prince of Hearts in that. So I think that's why it's important. I don't know, I didn't do that. So Evangeline's love of her life is going to marry someone else, and so she goes to Jax, the Prince of Hearts, to make a deal for him to stop the wedding. Jax agrees to stop the wedding, but Evangeline owes him 3 kisses whenever he wants with whoever he wants. And then you're kind of following what happens after they make the deal. Jax is a fate, and so he has magic powers and magic abilities. So we're in this magical world, and so there's the fates, which Jax is one of them. We also meet a couple other fates, and then there's also some vampires, or not vampires. Yeah, they're vampires. Right, okay. I don't really read fantasy. I thought it was very easy to follow along. Evangeline doesn't realize until after the first kiss that she's signed up for more than what she wanted. Just started it and barely in it, but I absolutely loved this. Jax has golden blonde hair, but then he changes it to blue hair, and I don't know why in my head I was imagining MGK with blue hair for how Jax is. That's how I pictured Jax was. All I could picture was MGK with blue hair in my head. And then Evangeline has rose gold pink hair. My head, it was getting kind of crazy. I gave that a 4-star, but I probably bump it up to like a 4.5, maybe a 5-star, because I finished that book a few days ago and I have not been able to stop thinking about it.
I went down a spiral on Instagram of looking up fan art, and then I went through an even bigger spiral of watching people's TikToks and all the special edition books that they have. And then I tried looking up special edition books, and I really want the Barnes & Noble special edition books, but then I also want the UK paperback books. But then I saw that the UK paperback, there was also, because there's a pink one for Once Upon a Broken Heart, but then there's also a blue one, which is like Jax's book. It has a special chapter for Jax, but you could only get that book if you live in the UK, and I really want that one too. And I just like became obsessed with this one book.
So I'm really excited to continue on with the series and read Ballad of Never After, and then read the next book when it comes out. So stay tuned, I guess, if I get physical copies of this book, because I am just reading it on my Kindle, but I am dying to get physical copies of it because absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. Like, you think there's gonna be like some romance in it, but like we haven't really gotten that yet. I've gotten crumbs, just crumbs, but I'm okay with the crumbs because it's like feeding my soul a little bit, and I am here for it. Anyway, I'm done rambling about that book. Those are the 12 books that I read in the month of May. I hope you enjoyed this video, and comment down below any summer recommendations you have to read over the next few months. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe, comment, all the YouTube things. And that's it from me. Goodbye.